For February 18th, 2024, this is my 10, turned in more into like 18-minute recording session. I'm plugging away at a Grobug Tale book, and as part of that, I am continuing to develop my CritterBots. So I had Frank. If you don't know who Frank is, then you got to look a couple episodes ago, I think, or maybe just one episode ago. I asked Frank to help me figure out what to make the abilities and names and descriptions of these various CritterBots. CritterBots are very much an homage to Digimon, the Digimon of Digimon Adventure, specifically, I guess. I really enjoy Digimon. The first 3 seasons, for sure. The 4th season, I'm a little dubious on, and beyond that, not so much. So, anyway, what appealed to me about the Digimon from Adventure and 02 and Tamers is, and it got better in Tamers, because in Tamers they had like really well-constructed evolution lines, which made them feel like a coherent, well-thought-out, well-planned entity and being that serves to advance in its hierarchy as it grows and becomes more powerful. It also makes sense the way it advances. Sort of, but, you know, enough for me. And anyway, so I guess, I don't know, something about the way it was done in Tamers was really impressive to me, but there was a lot of heart in 02 and maybe even more heart in Adventure with how the characters were and how they interacted with the children who they were partnered with, and also beyond that, how they enabled the children to survive in a meaningful way, at least, or especially at first on their adventure. So if you don't know the story of Digimon, the original story, the original show, Digimon Adventure, 7 young kids go to camp for the summer and wind up living in a digital land where everybody gets to meet their own Digimonster, a digital companion, a digital friend. And the song goes on, but I won't sing it. Anyway, there were practical things that happened. And within the first 3 episodes, we learned that the Digimon can forage for their own food, which is really interesting because the children are concerned how they will survive in this digital world that they found themselves marooned in, where there are no other humans, with the meager rations that they have with them. One of the kids happened to have an emergency bag on them that had medical supplies, a compass, stuff for starting fires, some food and things like that. And after a hilarious exchange, they figure out that if they divide the food for the 7 of them for 3 days, then they'll have enough food for 63 meals, which is exactly what you get if you divide whatever you have, whether it's, you know, a pack of gum or a 7-course meal. If you divide that for, 3 meals for 3 people over the course of 3 days, or for 7 people over the course of 3 days. So 63 is what it is, actually. So anyway, the Digimon not only can forage for food, but they can also do things like, at one point, the kids, do they fall? No, they just want a fire set, and they've collected wood, and one of the Digimon uses his pepper breath to start a fire, and they are able to warm themselves with the fire. They're able to cook fish that they've caught in the lake that they're near to at that time by the fire. Another incident, some of the characters end up, I don't know, like the 10th, 15th episode, somewhere in between there, in a freezing place, and they've been exposed to cold water, I believe, and there's a threat of hypothermia, freezing to death, and the strange Gabumon ends up shooting his blue blaster, which doesn't look like it's fire, but I guess it must be of some sort. He ends up shooting his fire out and burning a fire within a cave, I believe, so that his partner, Matt or Yamato, will not die by hypothermia and freezing to death. And it made me think, as I was developing these CritterBots for this sub part of a story that I'm doing, one of my Grobug Tale stories, that I should really give these characters some abilities that are like the Digimon, but I should kind of rethink, how did the Digimon work? What is the point of them? Digimon, if you don't know, it was originally developed as a manga, which then got turned into an anime, which wasn't like a direct sequel or anything. It was just like taking it and saying, okay, let's iterate this again and do something else. About these Tamagotchi, so these little like keychain games that kids would have they could stick on their backpacks or whatever. They could raise a monster in them and then put them to battle against each other, and the monsters would change and transform into bigger, stronger monsters and things like that. And I thought, well, that's not really what I'm doing. I something about the spirit and the soul and the heart that was put into a story told to sell that stuff really spoke to me as a kid. And what was it? And I won't necessarily say what it was here and now, but I will identify the fact that basically these digital monsters on this island allowed these kids to survive in not only combat ways, but in these non-combat ways. So when I started thinking about the CritterBots, and I developed the idea more and more, I decided it would be a good idea to give them the abilities to actually help the kids to survive in non-combat situations as well. So almost like these kids were, forest rangers or island rangers, and it's not the same exact story where kids are getting pulled into this digital world in order to, that's not the true CritterBot story. The true CritterBot story is that basically there's this island where there are these CritterBots. There's a mad scientist who, whether he created them or not, discovered them, whatever, has decided to modify them to be war machines, basically. And then these, innocent, sweet, loving kids help fight against those war machines and stop his tyranny by partnering with CritterBots of their own. And there's these 4 legendary CritterBot Guardians because this scenario is supposed to be for a game. And that sounds very much like something that you'd find in a video game. And I decided as I was developing it, they have to have these survival abilities in order to make the kids be able to flourish and thrive on their own in the wilderness for a long time without support from anybody else. And it made sense to me to do that. So I thought it would be nice if I could develop a idea, concept, story, game mechanic even, where the creatures that the children befriend are not just for combat, they are for survival and they're for thriving. And I actually have this idea that the way that the CritterBots work together, the 4 CritterBot Guardians specifically, since they are designed to go together as a conceit of the game and as a conceit of me being the writer behind the scenario, that they all allow for life and survival and thriving in a wilderness situation for a human, and each of the things can exist just fine on its own without a human to help it, because that's how animals are in nature. And kind of there's this idea of living in harmony with nature, which thematically goes well with the idea of Dr. Decay being purposely a freak of nature, where he modifies his body and modifies the bodies of other creatures, the CritterBots on the island, in order to turn them into more powerful or more robust war machines. And then you have these creatures, the CritterBots, and the kids who they work with, who are seeking to work in concert with each other, seeking to work together for a common goal, common purpose. They're able to transcend and go beyond him and his desire for domination through their cooperation and through fitting together their unique abilities in a voluntary manner, versus he's removing choice and removing the agency from these these CritterBots that he's enslaving. And that is a system doomed to failure, and I want that to be true in the game and in the story, and I think it works. I like it. I can also see taking the work that I'm doing here by figuring out what these passive abilities are of these CritterBots as well, to use that for not only the storytelling, but also for secondary, like a mechanical system for a game, whether it be a card game or a living card game style thing, where you can have people going on some sort of adventure. I looked into stuff like Earthborn Rangers, which is a tabletop. It's called a living card game, or it's like a living card game, which is apparently a trademark term. So it's I guess an expandable card game where you can tell a story, and there's pacifistic routes you can use, or you can use a combat route, or you can do, I don't know if you can actually go combat with that, because it's more like softer, which is kind of nice, because not everything has to be about fighting and killing and domination. But if you're going to have villains who are into fighting and killing and domination, you have to have heroes who can stand up to that, I think. But they don't need to be desirous of those things. They can do them reluctantly or with restraint, because they're doing it for cause. Anyway, I'm going on too long, but yeah, that's some of what's in my mind as I'm writing these things, or rewriting these things to turn them into what I need them to be, this background stuff for writing interactions with another character, Hopper, that he's going to have with these CritterBot Guardians. I hope you enjoyed that. Go to mjmunoz.com to leave any questions, comments, or other feedback you might have. There you can find all of my analysis, art, and fiction. I cover books, tokusatsu, comic books, anime, and more. Look around, you're sure to find something else that you'll enjoy as well. This has been a Story Over Everything production.